Yo, I'm not even into politics. I don't know barely half the stuff about politics. But from what I've learned coming from this Super Bowl halftime show, fiasco, controversy, whatever, bro, being conservative might be one of the most, if not the most, exhausting things on the planet. I know a lot of y'all might say it's a cult. I disagree. But I think a lot of people are kind of like me when it comes to knowledge of politics. They just choose to actually look into and talk about politics. Versus me, I don't talk about or really look into politics. Sometimes it just goes too far. Like the Super Bowl happened on Sunday, Bad Bunny performed. People got upset because they said he wasn't an American citizen, which he is because Puerto Rico is part of America. When The Weeknd, who is from Canada, performed years ago, Rihanna, who isn't from America, also performed years ago. Shakira is Colombian. She performed years ago. And dudes got their panties such in a bunch that they literally did their own halftime show. Turning Point USA deadass said, hey, let's get somebody to perform who is from America because we're patriots. Now let me say this. I have to give my respect. They got Kid Rock to perform. A lot of people are talking about they don't know Kid Rock. Talking about I can't even name 5 Kid Rock songs. Bro, Stranded, Tie to Tight, Patriotic Stance, Country Girls, and Run the Road. 5 Kid Rock songs. And let me spoil some for you. I just made all those 5 up. I have no idea what Kid Rock song even is. That just goes to show you how much anyone knows about Kid Rock, because you probably believe that. But that is who Turning Point USA said they were going to get to perform for them. Now, I only watched the halftime show once for the Super Bowl. You know, the Bad Bunny one, not the whatever they did. And I had the same reaction like every other halftime show. I need a few more watches to see if I really like it. I remember back when Usher did his. I didn't really like his at first, but then I watched it a few times and I really enjoyed it. Same thing with Kendrick Lamar. The only halftime shows I really enjoyed the first watch were The Weeknd, the Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, all them dudes, and the Justin Timberlake one. So take my opinion with a grain of salt when I talk about it, which I'm not really going to. But that's the thing, you have to literally pretend like someone's ass or someone's garbage or someone's a terrible person because you're stuck in a loophole that your political party wants. One of the prime examples, I feel like a lot of people who claim to be like conservative or Trump supporters like just follow blindly is pro-life versus pro-choice. One of my unpopular opinions is I genuinely believe that most people aren't against AB. I feel like a lot of people who vote against pro-choice, things of that nature, are just doing it because that's what their party deems as like the way to go. Like, you gotta keep in mind, allegedly Ted Cruz paid women to get, take care of a baby that he accidentally, created because, he went outside of his marriage. And then you also have to keep in mind, your president himself is also pro-choice. And then one thing I've learned that a lot of conservatives try and do is say, oh man, I only support AB if, the woman gets essayed. But people don't realize that being pro-life is being pro none of that at all, no matter what the circumstances. So I feel like a lot of people find themselves in that loophole and somewhat try and distance themselves from it because they still have a brand and a name to uphold. And they end up just looking stupid in the future. And that's one of the reasons why I say I can't be a supporter of it. Another weird thing that is sucky to get into when it comes to talking about, politics and, being conservative mainly is racism. Like, race has become one of the biggest issues when deciding politics because no one wants to seem like a racist. It can literally ruin your whole career if proof is, found. Bro, I remember I was on YouTube and a PragerU ad came up. And it was a family at the dinner table, a mom, a dad, a son, and maybe another son or daughter. I wasn't really paying attention. And the kid was on his iPad and he looked up at his parents and said, Mom, Dad, did you know America's racist? And then the mom and dad kind of just like looked up at each other. And then PragerU voiceover was like, you don't want your kid learning a bunch of BS, this, that, and the third. And it made me think, why is race always one of the things that, that side goes to? Like, it's so weird. They support so many different things and have so many different views, but race is one of those things that they just love to talk about. I used to go on these few arcs where I supported a lot of conservative talking points, and I would consider myself a conservative, but then they would bring up race and this and that. Like, I would find like a conservative content creator, like a few of their content that has nothing to do about race, and then I go to their catalog and all their videos, like 90% of them are about something race related. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think I can do it, man. So I just stay out of politics, or I just support talking points from the other side. But I am a big fan of what Malcolm X said, if you know, you know. So I try and just exercise common sense when I, make my opinions. Keep in mind, I also don't vote, so that also adds into that. One of the next things I have to bring up is this whole, rest in peace to him, God rest his soul, Charlie Kirk. When Charlie Kirk passed away, it was one of those things that made me realize how people choose what they want to be upset at and choose what side they want to be on, and I've already chosen the side that they will forever be on when I saw everyone's reaction. Like, think about Myron from Fresh and Fit podcast. He was this whole, rebel, I'm a badass, I do whatever I want, I'm an alpha male, I don't get emotional. And then when Charlie Kirk passed away, he was on stream, I'm upset, real men get assassinated. When you die, you're just gonna get killed, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, wow, this dude is an actual ass clown. Like, sometimes I look at Myron and I feel bad, because it's like, he built himself. He could have been very, like, in a solid spot, but he chose to just be a dum-dum and waste his potential. Bro, there were niggas on the internet crying real tears. I'm talking about, like, grown men, like, crying. I think Officer Tatum was actually crying when he said something about Charlie Kirk, and then he said he wouldn't cry at, like, his parents' funeral, or that you shouldn't cry at your parents. He said some of that ilk. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But getting on the internet and, like, showing your I've always thought that getting on the internet just to, like, cry was always weird, because you always have to, like, set the camera up and then, like, prep yourself to, like, start crying. So I've always thought that was weird. But the Charlie Kirk thing is one of those things that let me know that, oh yeah, this is how it is, because of when another person, of a different race gets killed by the cops, big excuses start coming out, this and that, blah, blah, blah. Oh, he did this. He was about this. He did this in the past. But one thing that Charlie Kirk loved to debate about, and I really don't want to speak too much about this, was gun violence. And there was literally things and times when he said that, hey, people got to get killed every year, how it has to be. So that's why it's hard to feel bad. And I have nothing against, pew-pews. For instance, I got my own firearm. You know what I'm saying? I have none against firearms. I think dang near everybody should own a gun, or everyone should have some way to protect themselves if they're not legally allowed to own a firearm. But to say that people need to, like, get every year to protect their Second Amendment right is a little insane. So it makes me cringe a little bit when I see the hypocrisy of that side, right? And it's just one of those things where it's another man, I gotta be offended by this, or I gotta be upset about this. Well, I'm gonna do it. And I say all of that to say this. When I was in high school, there were so many people who were, like, for this side, for being conservative, this and that. They had conservative parents. They would talk about it a lot. And in my head, I'll just literally think, like, you're not even old enough to vote. Why are we talking about this? And then also, I don't think you know half the stuff you're talking about. And one of the, like, scariest things, or one of the most interesting things I look at, is that people are going to be on that side no matter what, because it supports what they want, like, no matter what, because what they really want is malicious. There are people who hate other people of other races. So ICE doing what ICE does, they're not going to be upset about it at all, no matter how unlawful it is, no matter how terrible it is. The guy who died at the ICE rally, who allegedly had a firearm on him, he was exercising his Second Amendment right, and he did nothing illegal with the firearm. But Kyle Rittenhouse allegedly carried his firearm across state lines, which is illegal. But people were defending Kyle Rittenhouse, and they're saying, oh, this guy was wrong, he had a firearm, that's why he got shot. So that's why I'm gonna have to always agree that being a conservative sounds exhausting, because you genuinely have to See, I'm trying not to be biased, but you genuinely have to seem like you have a third grade level education when you talk to somebody, because you can't disagree with the higher things that your party's doing because you know it's wrong. Because then it's like, oh yeah, no, I agree that Donald Trump is not going right about these immigration things. You can't say that and then still support him, because now you just look like an asshole. So you choose to, spin it, mix it up. I couldn't do that. Like I said, I went on my arcs of trying to be the conservative black man, this and that. I couldn't. I think I exercised common sense. I don't know. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. Thanks for watching to the end if you made it this far. This was meant to be like a funny video. It might have gotten a little serious. Unfortunately, I'm sorry if it did. But yeah, apparently it's a serious topic. I'm a little sick right now. I just took freaking NyQuil. I might be a little tired. Might be a little choppy. Might be a little drowsy. I look like a bag of ass right now. I'm not going to lie. But hey, thanks for rocking with me. I'll be consistent this month. I promise. Consistency, all right? Appreciate you. Deuce.